Let's be real. Awakening is always not that pretty. It's not crystals, it's not incense and instant peace. It's messy, it's painful, and it cracks you wide open. But here's the truth, that breaking open is where the real power lives. Today, I'm joined by Monica Bermudez, a woman who's not only survived her own breaking open, but turned it into a guide for others through her book, Cracking the Sacred Heart Code. With her background in engineering and divine alchemy, Monica bridges science and spirit in a way that forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew about awakening. And today we're talking about that and what really takes to awaken the new earth through heart consciousness. Welcome to the show, Monica.
Thank you, Edna, for having me on your show as your guest. I am so excited to be here with you
Me
and your
too.
audience and share these messages. Thank you for that intro as well.
Oh, you're welcome. So let's get right into it. Many of us have survived trauma that shut down our hearts. I know I have.
Mhm.
When you talk about cracking the sacred heart code, how does that apply to people who've had armor around their hearts just to survive?
Yes, so that was, one of the biggest things that I evaluated was myself first. That was my first client,
Yes,
right? My first investment when it comes to
yes.
personal development at all levels and that, looked
Hmm.
at it from like energy, from all sorts of like trauma, subconscious, patterns that were
Right.
self-sabotaging me. And I didn't realize it until I was triggered. My biggest catalyst, my turning point was my divorce. So that really put me in a different perspective of really evaluating everything inside of me. And so
Right.
I found that my heart was very guarded, and felt closed or disconnected. And I found that other people were going through that. But one of the things that really started to open me up and start cracking that sacred heart in us. And I can explain what sacred means to me as well. But one of the things that really started to open me up more was really just doing something very simple and just being outside with nature and hanging out
Oh,
because
that's good.
I feel like a lot of us spend most of our time indoors, and I know I did. For
Yeah.
most of my life, I spent my time in an office with no windows,
Right. That's
sun,
correct.
and
Yep.
barely any, outside connection. And it wasn't until that catalyst moment that I said, well, I kind of have this desire and this urge to just spend most of my time out in a mountain. And so I
Right.
spend like long hours hiking for like, I would say like 3 hours, on the weekends,
Wow.
a lot, going to the mountain, hanging out with the trees. And that just really started to crack open, this other aspect of my heart. And in that cracking open, because sometimes it'd be like gradual things, sometimes you could just pull the band-aid off and just do it, right? Which is
Right.
part of my
Exactly.
book, is to do more like an alchemical formula step, process to help with that. But I do emphasize a lot of nature connection initially, with people who
Right.
don't get out as much, because nature is a big part of us, and we're a big
Absolutely.
part of nature. I feel we kind of lost those roots along the way,
Absolutely.
by societal
Absolutely.
structures. So yeah, but
Absolutely.
that's the way I would like recommend, getting started with that.
Of course. Of course. I'm going to tell you that is so very true because um, when I was working with an organization, even when I had my own office, I was in the office all the time,
Mhm,
from, 8 hours. Just think about that, eight
mhm,
hours, we're 8 hours away from our family. We're 8 hours. We're in this
mhm.
office. We're in this closed box. There's no fresh air. There's like
Yeah.
artificial air. And then when we go outside, we either get in a car or we walk around for 30 minutes on cement. So we have to be, we
Exactly.
started, there's no nature, like. And when I stopped working and I started working for myself again, I started walking every day. So 45 minutes every day. And the love that you feel, the closeness you feel to the trees and everything, I'm a total witness to that. So what you're saying to me, and you're saying it to me, is to stay in nature. You're saying it to my audience, get out in nature. You're telling
Yeah,
us that.
exactly. I mean, that's how I would recommend starting. And then from
Yeah.
there, you'll get like even more guidance because you're opening up to be more receptive to like downloads of
Yes.
information, insight,
Right.
intuition, your gut feeling.
Yeah.
All of those sensations will just start to like awaken and wake
Yeah.
up, in other words, in your body. So there's just, even like now, scientists are starting to find how much like the energy of trees, they emanate like their own aura, and that's why people
Hmm.
feel that healing and that openness and that reception.
Yeah.
So there is
I
an
do believe
exchange of
that.
energy between us and the tree.
Yeah, I
um,
believe
I
that.
love when science starts to bring spirituality and science together. um, a lot of things that were spoken about for a long time by many of the
Yeah.
ancients, and a lot of people would consider it to be too woo woo, or like or like it's like I was like,
Why
this
isn't
isn't
that
what
a buzzword?
I know, but it's an interesting definition. The dictionary is like something that's
Hmm.
extraordinary, I think is what it stands for. But honestly, it's not really that woo woo. I mean, it's like a lot of this is part of science as well. It's just
Yeah.
that we've been conditioned to think of things separate. Spirituality is on separate thing, science is on separate thing, but they're not. They're actually, interconnected. And that's a lot
Yeah.
of what quantum is telling us right now, because that is the trend, right? Quantum
Right.
physics and like all this talk about it.
Hmm.
But that's really what it is, the connecting dots of all that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to say maybe 10 years ago, and I don't remember the person's name. I read an article about quantum leaping when you sleep. And I had started studying it back then about 10 years ago. Maybe even longer. I don't want to date myself too much. But, now we're starting to get into it, right? And what you're
Yes.
talking about now. And the technical background that you have now, and you guide people in spiritual alchemy. Do you think people are stuck because of that? Like they're stuck because, oh, this needs to make logical sense here, but they don't think about the heart and the intuition. Does that keep them
Mhm.
stuck?
Yeah, in a way, that's part of it. Yeah, because sometimes we get too much in our head. And I was, like that for a long time. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
really needed to get myself out of the way so that I can allow myself to also tune into my heart. When the heart and the mind are connected into this coherence, and I think of the figure eight, right? This connection
Mm-hmm.
between the two, and this heart and mind coherence, you're like an unstoppable force of nature when
Yeah.
it comes to creation. You get downloads of information on new creative things, new ways of thinking outside the box. Shifting your perception is part of that, because sometimes we get so stuck in our own belief systems,
Right.
how we were conditioned, how we were, how we grew up in a certain family dynamic or any type of environment that we grew up in.
Right.
And so sometimes we don't even realize that we are holding on to these belief systems and this conditioning until you really tap in more into your heart and bring yourself together in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then you start to see the different perceptions, like, oh, if I look at this belief system from this angle, or if I start
Right.
questioning even that, from a different viewpoint, then that really shifts us in a different way. And it's not that it is, just here analyzing and just being like just logical about it, and over
Right.
analyzing too much of stuff. It's not that there's anything wrong with like analyzing something, but when we
Mm-hmm.
overdo it, we like disconnect ourselves too much from the heart, and we don't allow the heart to
Right.
also speak to us. So what
Right.
scientists, are finding in a lot of, the research with heart math, for those who are familiar, is that the heart is also like another brain. It has the same neurons
Mm-hmm.
as the brain does, as
Yep.
intelligence.
Yep. It sure does. So I know that okay. So I want to go back to this word that you're saying, downloads. And I know my audience has heard it a couple times. I didn't know anything about it. it was through my friend Crystal, who's actually a Reiki master. So I didn't know anything about it. I was like, downloads. I'm a practical person, so I'm asking questions. I would love for you to break down that word downloads, what it means, and where does it come from. That kind of thing. Break that down for the audience.
Yeah, of course, would love to. Downloads is more like kind of similar to gut feeling or like intuition, but
Okay.
these are really like information that is really coming from an aspect of you that is like a future aspect of yourself. Um,
Ooh,
so what people would call them like your higher self is not to mean that, one is better than the other, but it's more like
gotcha.
your divine connection of who you truly are at the soul essence. So a lot of these download of information is what I call like you have this a lot already in your soul that's embedded. There's
Gotcha.
so much to us than just the physical body and the physical form that we are.
Okay. Well,
I hope
that
that
makes
answers
sense.
it.
Yeah, no, that does. Because okay, so in a community of people, black and brown women, right? We think that downloads mean, from God. This God, just God, not spirit, because spirit we relate to, in us. But when she said it to me, I was like, okay, so God is downloading something to me, and she explained it like that. No, your higher self, that's the knowing, the higher being of yourself, downloads what you already know. And I was like, oh, so I didn't know that, but it's good to, that's good information. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the other thing too is that we're all interconnected, right? And that's the part of the quantum field, right? The interconnection of all things
Right.
is that no,
Yes.
we've never been separated from divinity or from God. We've always
Yep.
been a part of that. So in a way, it's all oneness. It's all the consciousness of
Yes.
awareness of the
Yes.
information that comes in. So
Yes.
even those future aspects of self is in that oneness, in that presence. So we're merging now more into this knowingness of this present moment because of
Mm,
the energetic shifts that are going on in the world and
right.
stepping more into the quantum field, and more people are starting to wake up to that.
Right. Absolutely. They are. I don't want to say the buzzword awakening, but I think they're waking up to it. I think they're past the awakening. I think they're waking up to it. Like the aha moment. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah,
like, that's
exactly.
what that
Aha
is.
moments, like the little
Yes.
light bulb that turns on the cartoons.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. It's like, wow, I get them all the time. Like, oh, yeah, that rings true. Like that aha, that it rings true. Yeah, I love that. I love that about that. In my work, though, I see how money and survival trauma really block people from their purpose. Right? How does the Sacred Heart Code help people break free from the cycle of fear and scarcity?
By bringing them back together to their oneness, to their own unity consciousness, and shifting into that quantum field of knowingness that um, everything has its own rhythm and its flow. Not we were
Gotcha.
never separated. We were always, as one working in
Mhm.
that quantum field. And so it brings in this whole realization and this whole perception that we were always interconnected. So what we do in one thing also
Mhm.
impacts someone else. So everything has its own rippling effects on everyone. So as we tap in more into our own purpose and really embrace the purpose that we are, because to me
Mhm.
it's about aligning to your purpose, not really finding it. It's already in you.
Right, aligning to, yes,
being
yes.
here being here is already serving a purpose, but there could be
Mhm.
multiple types of purpose that we're serving in this
Gotcha.
capacity right now in this role. But
Mhm.
really tapping when we really tap in and align to ourselves from a soul level, you are also creating
Right.
these ripple effects through the quantum field that is interconnected to all those who are around you, who are part of your soul family, your own tribe, your own community. Everybody benefits.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the key to mastery is to knowing thyself. So there
Right.
is such deep wisdom, ancient wisdom that has been engraved in many of the ancient Egyptian temples,
Mhm.
And many of the ancient Greek temples, they all emphasize the same thing, but just express it in different ways.
Gotcha.
And so a lot of it was lost, through time. But now is coming to light. So this is our time really to embrace
Mhm.
that, within ourselves, not to be afraid of
Mhm.
yourself and who you are, who
Gotcha.
you're becoming. And when I say becoming, I mean like remembering,
Right,
remembering
right.
at the soul level.
Right. Right. I definitely I'm there. I'm like literally there. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just embraced, my um clairsentience. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, okay. And I'm going with it.
Yeah, I
I'm
love it.
going with it, and I'm learning and I'm open. Now, for those that you're talking about now, what is one exercise you can give them, the audience right now, just to start to
Mhm.
come out of that fear and that scarcity that you would teach
Yeah.
in the Sacred Heart Code?
So, we could do a small exercise right now for those who are listening, and
Sure.
this is a very simple one, and this is just really um, taking a moment to yourself, right,
Mhm.
and really just dropping in your heart and just really tuning in. And you could place both of your hands in your heart just to really feel its energy. There's a lot of electromagnetic energy that gets emitted
Mhm.
from our hearts, and just really feel into that connection with everybody who's on here listening, um, where we're all connecting. And so now just really give yourself a moment to really listen to what your heart has to say to you. And you could just journal what that message is. You could take longer if you like, with tuning
Gotcha.
into that.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
would love to hear from those, like who did this exercise. You could write in comments, in the social
Yeah,
media, wherever
absolutely.
you share it, what word they got.
Yeah.
What I heard immediately was, "You're so beautiful." So I don't know if you got something, Edna.
Yeah,
Uh,
I heard you're good. You're
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. You're good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard that.
so that's, how you get started. You build that
Mhm.
relationship with your heart and
Yeah.
do it, even if you do just a few minutes like every day as a daily
Yeah.
practice, make it a habitual new habit, for your new chapter in your life to
Yes.
start connecting yourself, reconnecting yourself in
Absolutely
that
right.
way
Yeah.
makes a huge difference, in your life and what you
Yeah.
do, the decisions you make and the choices you make,
Right.
all of that is, comes into play. And then things just start to get louder and louder. You won't have to like do it, like this so often that
Right.
it'll just become so
Right.
natural to you.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes. I hear you. Well, audience, if you have done that exercise along with me, because I did do it a couple seconds, that's all it takes. If you have a comment or you heard a word, please post it in the comments under the video. We'd love to hear from you. Now, we're going to start with the next question. Since we were just talking about awakening, right?
Mhm.
That sounds beautiful. Awakening sounds so beautiful. But I'm going to tell you from experience, it's messy.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
It's so messy. It's so messy. And it brings out tears and all of this stuff. What's the dark side of awakening and the ascension that people don't talk about? I know it is for me because I've been experiencing it, but you can share because you are my
Oh,
guest. I'd love to hear what you
yes.
say.
Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, I would say, like, all of a sudden realizing that the people you've been hanging around with are probably not, you no longer want to hang out with them. You no longer resonate. It's like, okay, so what do I do? These have been my friends forever. I've been with them, hanging out with them for a long time. And like even some family, right? It's like, oh, I don't really feel this connection with my blood family anymore. It's like
I think you're telling on me.
it's me too. It's me. I'm telling on myself too, but I know that so many people resonate with this.
Mhm, mhm. And it's the dark side because you say all these things, I've been with this person for since I was ninth grade, or I've been with this person since I was, and we went through all this stuff together, and now I don't resonate with them. And
Exactly.
now, yes,
So in a way,
it's
there's
messy.
a heartbreaking that goes with that too. Like,
Yes,
and that dismantling of this heartbreak, the breakdown, is also a breakthrough because you're really starting
yes,
to realign
yes,
yourself into your own soul paths to where you're meant to
yes,
be,
yes,
and
absolutely.
everybody served their purpose in your life
Hmm.
when they did.
Yeah.
And so that's where it comes to endings and beginnings.
Yes. And it's the human part of you wants to
Mm-hmm. Of
linger there a little bit longer.
course, yeah.
Or maybe wants to go back and try again.
Yeah, exactly. uh,
And it just gets messier.
I've been there, and
Yes, when you do that,
it's
just
still
you
working
can't go back.
process.
Yes, it is. It is. And it's the broken heart part now,
Uh-huh.
because you go through the whole stages of grief and everything because you grieve
Yeah.
that happened,
Mhm.
that friendship, that it's not that it was bad,
Mhm.
kind of breaking up. It's because you no longer align. So it's like
Mhm.
I literally felt my spirit, they were going this way, and I was just like going this way.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
and it's no harm, no foul,
No.
but the heartbreak, wow, we don't even think the same anymore. And I
Yeah.
think one of my signals was, and maybe for you too, you could tell me, I'm talking about some, awakening that I'm having. And I literally had friends fall asleep on the phone. And I'm like, okay, that's a message. Right?
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
fall asleep. Or you knew that they weren't paying attention. They'll go, okay. You knew that.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
complete
So that
emptiness.
was kind of like my signal. Okay, I'm on another other area here, another channel. We're on another
Yeah.
channel, and
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
Different
it was
channel.
nothing wrong with that. It's just that
No, there
I
isn't.
was going a different way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, the heartbreak of wow, my friend can't understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
Whew. And then you act like too. Oh, she doesn't want to go with me. Oh, he doesn't want to go with me. It's like,
Yeah, we get like attached to that. It's like there's an expectation, I guess, attachment, right, to like
right.
certain things. And
Yes,
that's where we got to be like really cautious, where, when that happens, is paying attention to what
absolutely,
the expectation that we had versus what's really going on. Because,
exactly.
I've gotten people like deer in headlights, like, like, what the hell, the truck
Lisa,
just hit
and
me,
don't
like,
talk to them in person, right? You be like,
yeah,
you
like
can
the
hear
truck just
the
hit
crickets,
me.
cricket, cricket. You can hear it. You can hear it. You can just hear it. Yes, yes, I know what you're talking about, sister. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I do. And like I said, you try to go back. That's one of the darker sides. You try to go back, and then
Exactly.
it becomes real messy. So it's better to listen, right? It becomes
Exactly.
real messy.
Just
Yes.
let it naturally flow to where it is.
Yes. So it
Because that's
becomes
the
really, really,
resistance.
really messy if you
That's
keep
part of the
going back. Don't go
resistance,
back.
like
Yes, don't go back. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to fix it.
yes,
Just leave it
yes.
alone.
That would definitely get
Yes.
very messy.
Yes, it will
Take it
be
from us.
so messy. Yes. And then it goes, and audience, we want you to know this also goes for family.
Yeah, that's even more
Family.
messy.
And my son said to me the other day, he said, well, he had he had
Mhm.
a family member he didn't want to be around. And I said, you don't have to. Your healing is yours. Your
Yeah,
truth is
exactly.
yours. And he said, well, I always thought I had to because they were family. I said, what? I said, no, you don't have to.
Yeah,
Someone that hurts you, you're not comfortable.
why?
You don't. You make that. You create a boundary, and it doesn't have to be. I'm creating
Exactly.
a
Thank
boundary
you.
with you, and da 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 da. It don't have to be
Thank you
that.
for saying that. Yes. I'm
Yes,
so
it
glad
doesn't
it's
have.
not just me.
It
I'm
doesn't
so
have to
glad
be
it's not
all of
just
that.
me saying it.
Yes, it doesn't have to be that. It's just that you created a boundary, and you know what? And when you
Mhm,
give off the energy of a boundary, it's different
mhm.
than you doing something that, oh, I want to cut them off. That's a
Yeah,
different. feeling, and they accept that
Right.
okay, she
And
created a boundary
it's not
versus
being
she's cut me
selfish,
off.
because some people take it as being
Exactly.
selfish, or they feel like they have to help everybody. It's almost like
Right,
this
right,
uh
right.
helping, like a martyr,
Yes.
type syndrome,
Yes.
and like
Yes. Martyrism.
sacrifice your
It's not
energy, your
cute. It's
time
not
to help
cute. It's not
others.
cute.
But
It's not
we
cute.
don't have to do that anymore. It's like I feel
Yes. We
that's
don't.
one of those patterns that's been like somehow passed down, maybe through ancestry, but also like in some of the
Right.
maybe like different lifetimes as well. And we don't have to like carry that burden for anybody else, anymore.
Right.
This is about really our own healing in our own space as well, which in
Mm-hmm.
that moment that we work on ourselves, like I was saying earlier, there is that
Right.
interconnectedness, right? That whole rippling effect that does impact others, because there is an influence of the energy that goes out, and communicates to others
Right.
through this
Right.
like energy network, energy community. And so when people
Right.
see your shift and see, your presence, in that moment,
Uh,
they also feel that, impact without you having to
right.
say the words. So
Right.
silence
Exactly.
is a
Exactly.
powerful tool too.
Yes. 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 So, audience, most of my audience, I'm gonna tell you, is that they're either in the trauma part or they're mad at God, right? They feel broken,
Oh, you're talking
disconnected,
about
they're
me?
mad at. No, no, I'm just saying most of my not.
No, I mean,
Oh
that's how
yeah.
I used to think. That's how I used to be, though. I mean, this is my past, like, reflection on me, past version of myself reflection. I tell you, I was really mad at God for a long time.
Yes, girl. So was I. I was like, well, my audience knows I talk to God like, yo, God, for real.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I was, and so us being angry like this, right? And I know you've
Mhm,
worked with yourself. What's one way that we can get, start stepping away from that and reopening our heart to have that space and not bypass our pain? Because I was
mm,
bypassing my pain and it was causing me more trouble than not. You know what I mean? So I would hop over the pain. Oh, it's okay. And I love that word. Okay and fine. I love that. Oh, I love that word. Okay and fine. Little did I was like in the back of my mouth. Oh, girl, you don't even know. But I wanted to be able to process the pain, right? And then be able
mhm.
to begin to reopen my heart space.
Yeah.
How would you help us do that when we're
Oh,
angry with
well, great question. First of all, it's about your own willingness to want to do the work, right?
Right,
Because
right.
I can just share the information, right? But if you're not willing to do it, then there's
Yes,
only so much that one can do. But really, the first step
yes,
is you, what
yes.
you want to do with yourself, how you want to make
Right.
that change, and really shift that mindset, and really step more into your own heart and your own fullness. But I will offer these three powerful keys, and this is something that I just shared on my social media, and that is number one: witness, allow,
Ooh.
and
Mm-hmm.
release. Okay.
Ooh, that's good.
And, when you feel into the emotion, right, whatever's coming up, just feel it, but don't stay in it. And that
Mm-hmm.
was my
Mm-hmm.
biggest challenge, when I was going
Yeah.
my own inner work.
Girl, I wanted to stay in there because I wanted to blame everybody.
I did
I wanted to
too.
blame them. I wanted to blame them. I wanted to pound something. I wanted to, I wanted to stay in it. I wanted to keep talking about it. Then one day I was
Mhm,
like, I'm keep talking about it because it's so complex. Um,
mhm,
the, the God being angry with God is such a layered thing because until you got to get to the real crux of, oh well, this is the untruth, that it's really the untruth that had nothing to do with God.
mhm.
And that
Yeah,
we find out, oh, I listened to that when it's plainly written right here. I was like,
yeah.
you go, door, you know how the V8 commercial, you hit yourself up and say, okay, got it. But I had to get to that level because I was all the way up. I was
Mhm.
like, ooh, and I had to come all the way
Yes.
down, open my heart again, so that I could
Yes.
be spiritual and be able to say, okay, and accept the oneness. I couldn't accept the oneness because I was like, okay, God, I'm talking to God out here, knowing full well. Okay, all in here, all up in here,
Yeah.
all up
Yeah.
in here, you know,
Yep.
and
It's
that's what
so
it is.
yeah. So just let go to grow. You know.
Yes, absolutely. Had to let it all go. Had to let it go. All go, girl.
Yeah.
This was not your sugar-coated conversation, audience.
No.
It's really about spirituality. And Monica, I love how you broke everything down and laughed with me and created a new awakening. I like the way you awaken.
Yeah. I love it. It's my
I
style.
love that.
With a bit of
Yes, I
humor on the side.
I just love that awakening. I like that better than the buzzword. I like your awakening better.
Exactly. Yes.
I
This is,
love it.
you can have fun with it. You don't have to be,
Yes.
in the grump or whatever is going on, or get serious about
Yes.
like what is awakening.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that, when I really work with a lot of the angelic energy, like Archangel Michael a lot. He's actually a
Hmm.
comedian, Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
He always
Yes.
brings in a lot of sense of humor, and so he always
Hmm.
like reminds me, stuff, and he always says, "Get out of the way," like,
Right.
and
Exactly. Right.
like, he always says, "Let's flow," let's glow and flow.
Yes. Yes. And that's exactly what we need right now, in this climate and what's going on
Mhm,
in the world. We really need conversations and the spiritualities, the knowledge of the spirituality. So,
mhm.
Monica, I want to thank you for breaking that down
Oh, it's
and
my
talking
pleasure.
about awakening and showing us how the heart is the key to the new earth, which is us. I
Yes.
love it.
Oh,
It's
big
us.
time. It gives me chills
Yes.
when you say it. Thank you so much for
Yes.
having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Listen, guys, if this episode cracks something open for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear the truth about the awakening, not the one over there, but the real one right over here. And that really means something. And if you're ready for more unfiltered conversations, hit subscribe for Keeping It Real on Purpose. Leave a review and let us know your biggest takeaway. And listen, connect with Monica through her book and her podcast, Ascended Earth. I'll probably be going over there soon, checking her out. Until next time, keep rising, keep it real, and keep living on purpose. Bye for now.
Bye.
Don't